Hello, welcome on the Innovation and Strategy Blogs' first Zoom interview. Today we're welcoming Javier Cedillo Espin, who's got a very interesting background. And this is part of the Zoom interviews that we're having during this confinement period. So Javier Cedillo Espin, you have a lot of experience in innovation. Could you tell me about yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. It has been definitely an innovative and unique journey that I've had since I started. I've been very lucky because I've been able to not only create and develop many different things throughout my career, but also travel the world in times where we could travel. And now that we are here in confinement, share these experiences through Zoom. So let me start by telling you a bit about myself. So yes, I've been in the service industry for almost 20 years. I've been very lucky to have been doing this all over the world, in North America, in Asia Pacific, and now I'm based in Europe. I have probably 3 different chapters of my career. The first chapter is really working with world-class companies and organizations like Starwood Hotels and Accor Hotels, where I learned everything about the foundations of service and hospitality. Not only did I learn about what was to build world-class brands and scale them, but I also learned a lot about truly becoming an experienced engineer. And what is that? An experienced engineer is about really understanding what matters to guests. And in the service industry, that's really, really important because there's a lot of intangible, there's a lot of emotions that take place. So it's not only about the basic operations, it's really about the bricks that make guest experiences become journeys. And that really is something you learn through not only hard work, but also a lot of understanding of the desires, the aspirations, and all the needs of the customers. So I was lucky enough to be able to work for those 2 great organizations, had an incredible time, traveled the world, lived in New York, Miami, lived in Tokyo, Singapore, did a lot of the field work, operational work, brand management work, and innovation work, because these 2 companies were also looking to become something different. So I took a lot of those inspirations for the second part of my career, which is the second chapter. The second chapter of my career was truly, taking out the entrepreneurial DNA that I have in myself, because I'm also an entrepreneur. I went in and became CEO of 2 companies that are Airbnb-like. And what I did there is I almost had to relearn the new rules of the game for service and hospitality. And why? Primarily because what was happening is that the world of hospitality was getting not only disrupted, but completely shaken by the fact that companies were coming into markets, into destinations, and all of a sudden they were popping up and distributing homes, apartments, villas throughout territories where hotels used to actually control and be dominant. And these companies were doing it in a very different way. So they had different rules, they had different ways of operating. So I took the challenge of becoming the leader of 2 of those companies, not only because I saw the potential, but I also wanted to learn more, and I also wanted to get into what was happening. And so this is where I became the CEO of onefinestay and another second company that had a similar model. But was doing it rather than in beautiful destinations and primarily in city centers. And they both had something in common. They had to address hospitality in a decentralized way. So decentralized hospitality was really the challenge. How do you deliver professional hospitality? How do you deliver those amazing experiences you have at hotels in places where you don't have the infrastructure, you don't have the processes, and you don't have the people that were able to build those experiences. I became an experience engineer in Starwood and Accor. Now I had to become re-engineer the processes to be able to make them real in distant and isolated destinations. And that was fascinating. That was fascinating because that got me not only into innovations, as you and many people say, definitely the need is the mother of all innovations, and the need of checking in someone without an infrastructure, the need to be able to deliver concierge services without having a concierge. All those things pushed me to think differently and discover technology as a medium to power some of the services. And really, that's why I call it a completely different chapter of my career, because that is what I call the power hospitality, the alternative service companies that deliver that. And they have many examples of how that really pushed the limits in terms of innovation. We recreated the arrival experiences. We had to redesign not only how to clean apartments in islands in a way that it was economically feasible. We had to introduce digital processes like a digital key that really changed the ways that hospitality can be perceived, and not only hospitality can be delivered. It changes business models.
Just a few perhaps ideas as to how to not wrap up, but restate what you're saying. Basically, you started out evolving a company from functional excellence to what one could call experience excellence, and so you become what you said is an experience engineer. That is someone in charge of building experiences. And you said that has something to do with emotions and desires. And then this you did with very established companies, leading hospitality companies like Accor. And you've also then worked for what some people call platform-based companies that instead of operating their own workforce, rely on an ecosystem of people that can provide some of the operational capabilities and the infrastructure to be hosting people. Is that correct?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
And those ecosystems were sometimes not harmonized, and my job was to be able to harmonize them. Really, make those ecosystems sometimes work, because some of them were physical and some of them were digital. And even though these platforms were digital, they did rely on the physical to be able to make them work. And this is where technology became the medium to be able to make, like you say, those ecosystems really turn and work for the guest. Ultimately, that was the most important part, is that people are able to check in at no matter what time, are able to have great experiences. And that really pushes that element of innovation. And rapidly, that got me inspired into my third chapter, which is where I am now, which is launching companies that focus on digital transformations. So my focus now is really finding projects, missions, and companies that are taking a process, either in service or in living lifestyle companies, and really digitalizing them, making them now become part of a digital ecosystem, but also something specific that has never been done before, or that we need to master. It is really inspired by the fact that I've been doing that as an experienced engineer in the past. I've been being able to digitalize a lot of these things, and now I'm looking at doing it and driving it for specific areas. And this is where I'm now.
Before you were doing digital transformation, you were conducting digital transformation, and now you're backing companies that are developing digital transformations in established companies. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's correct. And it's a different pivot, but it's equally exciting because it's a mix of being an entrepreneur and also being a mentor, because that enables me to also transfer a lot of my experiences, mistakes as well, because when you do this, after 20 years in the business and 20 years of doing massive transformations, it's, this is hard work. and companies can benefit from the mistakes, from the best practices that comes when doing these. Transformations are never easy. There really are a real journey, and I do believe that that's one of the reasons why I'm still in doing this. And that's what Key Partners Ventures is all about. You know, KPV really is about finding those key partners and being in this journey together. And I can give you more details on that if you want me to go into those.
Sure, yeah. Maybe you could give us one or two examples of
Sure.
startups or companies that are enabling digital transformation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So one of the companies that we are backing up and we invested is Domo. Domo is a company that is digitalizing the in-room experience. So what they've done is
So the in-room experience, is that correct?
Correct.
So the experience within a given room, right?
Correct. So whether it is a hotel, whether it is an apartment, or even your own home, what Domo does is it gives you an interface in your TV, on your tablet, in your computer, a minibar to be able to order services, amenities, and have an e-concierge at your fingertips. So the vision of this was that not every hotel has the infrastructure to have a concierge in the hotel. Not every hotel has the infrastructure to have a platform and interface to be able to have that 5-star experience that you have in resorts where you have 3 people serving you. So what Domo is doing is providing you with that infrastructure to be able to do that. So they provide entertainment, they provide F&B, and they provide also e-concierging, and they provide all these elements that enables anyone to be able to plug and play a in-service or in-stay experience in a hospitality way. So today it's available for professionals in hospitality, and it also now is available for consumers that want to have this this e-concierge experience in their homes through their TVs or through their networks.
Great.
So that is one of the first and oldest ventures that Key Partner Ventures invested in. It's developed quite well. The website is domo.key. And it's definitely one that we're quite proud of. The second one is a venture that is recent, and it started. It's called Smart Keys, and what it does is developing a pure digital platform for residential rentals and management. So what it does, it's trying to compete with some of the emerging platforms where you're able to put your apartment to lease on a yearly, 3 years, 6 years, as many years as you want. But it's the key differentiation is you do this 100% online. So you don't need to go anywhere to put your apartment to rent. And the people that are looking to rent, they don't need to do anything to be able to actually rent that apartment. The selection of the tenants is all done online, and also the paperwork and back office of it, it's all done online. The focus.
That's an interesting example where you're able to digitalize 100% of what was before offline activities. Right.
Absolutely. I lived in Singapore for a very long time. I lived in Japan. I was inspired by the fact that these type of processes in other markets are very much digitalized. And when I moved to France, I did realize that there is a lot of work that needs to be done to be able to get there. There are some platforms that are already doing that, but we are focusing on delivering a better experience and focusing some of the aspects that really make a big difference, like the back office, a lot of the paperwork and management of that information that is really critical for people to be able to feel safe of selecting a tenant and also moving into an apartment. I cannot stop by also having my guest experience hat on most of the time, and I do believe that that tenant experience and that residential rental experience can be improved. So that's one of the other companies that we are backing up. We have a joint venture with a real estate company in France. We're very excited, and it's going to be growing through this year.
Okay. So in the few minutes we have left, could you tell us about open living and co-living?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So Open Living is a marketplace. It's a platform that is focused on the people that need to find an alternative location to work remotely. So it is about matching people that are travel nomads, that are willing to move out and really work in remote destinations, not that remote, like 20 minutes away from a major city or an airport, and have a very flexible lifestyle. So it's a different type of residential rental. It's more about a lifestyle change. People that are looking to move to the countryside, still working, but willing to go into a local community to be able to contribute to that community, and to be able to experience a completely different way of working. It is the first marketplace is going to specialize in remote working rentals, and that's where I believe is going to find its differentiation.
Okay, so
what's unique about this company? Sorry?
Just a quick question. What's the difference between co-living and what is often called co-working? For example?
Correct. Well, look, I think this is for us, this is a sharing of a castle or of a big a location, not necessarily sharing a room. So what you go into is you go in, you have a private quarter, you have a private not only room, sometimes you have a private house within a big park. But what you're doing is you're collaborating into the work of that place. If you need to do either gardening, or if you want to be part of the people that helps create the meals, or if you just literally want to become the coach for the people that are living in that community, you're not living together. You're living in the same domain, but you're not. But you're collaborating. The inspiration for this company has been the fact that we did not want to go and construct new buildings. So we want to reuse some of the amazing assets that exist in Europe. We're focusing in Europe, but France is our first market. There's amazing places, amazing castles, amazing villas, amazing mansions that today are empty. And that they're...
So the people that live in these places, do they still work for like their quote regular job?
Yes, correct.
So they
absolutely. So
they have on this additional responsibility of sort of renovating the castle they're living in with a lot of other people. Is that correct?
Exactly. So you're still. This is not travel. This is residential. So you're changing your address to a castle in Provence, for example.
That's great.
And you're now working remotely, and just coincidentally, serendipity, this style of life is something that is going to be, this habit hopefully sticks on, and there's more people looking for that. And you're still working during the day, but when you finish working remotely, you now work with these people, with this local community. I do believe, I'm also inspired because I do believe it's durable. I do believe it's inclusive, and it's smart because it's taking some of the digital elements and saying, rather than being in a small apartment working remotely, I can be in looking at a beautiful view, and next to the beach, and I can still work remotely, but also now contribute to my local community. So that's why I call this open living, and the name says a lot of it. It's about living in the open spaces. It's about living in places that give you more space. It's about working remotely, and it's about people that have that flexibility or need that flexibility. So it's a different approach to working remote.
Okay, great. So thank you very much for sharing your ideas. So I understand there's been three chapters in your career. First, helping established companies move from a functional culture to one that's based on experience. You were an experience engineer. Then there was a second chapter where you worked for platform business, including onefinestay. And the issue there was to build the operational excellence that you found in established companies based on technology and an efficient ecosystem. And now you're working on building co-living and backing startups that are transforming companies and including digital technologies in their processes. Well, thank you very much for sharing all your ideas, and I hope that we'll get to meet each other in real life when the confinement time is over. And have a great day.
Thank you very much. Thanks for chatting, and I look forward also to meeting you too.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, goodbye.